a narrative on a narrative of spiritual a narrative on spirituality in palliative care. Okay, I'm going to discuss spirituality in its connection to palliative care. Okay, here we go with tonight's presentation. Please sit back and enjoy. The room was dim, lit only by the soft glow of a bedside lamp. Outside, the hospital corridor buzzed with its usual rhythm, but inside this room, time had slowed to something gentler, something scared. Mr. Hale lay resting, his his breath shadow, his breath shallow but steady. His daughter, Miriam, sat beside him, her hand wrapped around his. She wasn't speaking. She wasn't crying. She was simply present. The kind of presence that feels like prayer, even when no words are spoken. On the table beside her sat a small leather-bound journal. Inside were pages of her her father's handwriting, scriptures he loved, prayers he had written, prayers he had written, reflecting reflections he had penned during the long months of his illness. She opened it now, not to read, but to hold, as if the weight of the book anchored her in a moment that felt too big to bear. I stepped in quietly, sensing the wholeness of the space. How is he doing? I asked softly. She looked up, eyes tired but steady. He's peaceful. He's peaceful, she said. I think he's ready. She paused, then added, he told me last week that he wasn't afraid. He said he could feel God close. Her voice trembled, not with fear, but with awe. Where spirituality lives in this room, spirituality wasn't loud in that room. It was formal. It wasn't formal. It wasn't even spoken most of the time. It lived in the way Miriam had held her father's hand It lived in the journal filled with his prayers. It lived in the quiet, steady breath of a man who had made peace with his life. Spirituality and palliative care is really about doctrine. It's about connection to meaning, to memory, to love, to God. It's the invisible thread that holds a family together when the world feels like it's falling apart. The moment Faith entered the room later that afternoon, the chaplain arrived. He greeted Miriam gently, then stepped to the bedside. He placed a hand on Mr. Hale's shoulder and began to pray. Not a prayer of desperation, but a prayer of gratitude. Gratitude for a life lived with integrity. Gratitude for the love that filled the room. Gratitude for the God who had walked with this family through every valley. As he prayed, something shifted. Mr. Hill's breath softened. Miriam's shoulders relaxed. The room felt less heavy, more held. This is what spirituality does at the end of life. It doesn't change the outcome. It changes the experience. It brings peace where there had been fear. It brings meaning where there had been uncertainty. It brings connection where there had been loneliness. The final blessing. As evening settled, Mr. Hale's breath grew further apart. Marion leaned closer to her forehead resting gently against his. Give me 1 second, guys. One second. You can rest now, she whispered. God is here. I'm here. You're safe. A few breaths later, he slipped quietly into the presence of the one he had trusted his whole life. Miriam didn't cry at first. She simply held his hand, her thumb brushing the back of it, the way she had done since childhood. After a long moment, she whispered, "Thank you. Not to me, not to the room, but to God." Because even in her grief, she could feel it, the unmistakable sense that she had not walked this valley alone. Where spirituality fits in palliative care. Spirituality is not an add-on. It is not a luxury. It is not a nice extra. It is the quiet center of what it means to care for a whole human being. Spirituality helps patients make meaning, softens fear, strengthens families, guides decisions, brings peace, holds clinicians steady in scared work. It, it is the bridge between what medicine can do. It is the bridge between what medicine can do and what love must carry. And when spirituality is honored at the bedside, the room becomes more than a hospital room. It becomes a sanctuary. Okay, guys, that is it for tonight. I will see everybody tomorrow for shows. Until then, Gator Wellness. Take care, folks.